solving quadratic equations by factoring. So remember, factoring is when you break it down into two or more products. So let's say let's start off with something basic. I have x minus 7 and x plus 2 equaling 0. To give you a little shortcut on this, you're just going to take the opposites of your two numbers. So what's the opposite of negative 7? Positive 7. What's the opposite of positive 2? Negative 2. And those are your two answers. Why does this work out? Well, let me show you. If I take these separately and set them equal to 0, like so, and I want to find out what x equals, I would have to add 7 to get the x by itself. This canceling leaves me with x equals 7, hence my first answer. Let's do the second one. X plus 2 equals 0. Again, to get x by itself, I need to move the 2, so I'm going to subtract the 2. This cancels, and I get x equals negative 2. So the shortcut way you can just think of it is that you're always going to take the opposite of each equation because you're setting it equal to 0. And you can always check these as well. Okay, let's try another one. What if we have x minus 2 times x equals 0? All right, again, if you get stuck, just set them both equal to 0. But here, real very quickly, what's the opposite of negative 2? 2. So there's my first answer. My second answer, well, this is x by itself. Well, x is already by itself. So what does x equal? It equals 0. And there are my two answers, 2 and 0. Okay, if I had x and x plus 4, same situation. Okay, if this is set equal to 0, then obviously if x is by itself, it's already set equal to 0, telling me that x equals 0. And take the opposite of positive 4, I get negative 4. There you go, friends. It's that easy. Okay? Last one. X plus 4, x minus 3, set equal to 0. And they want you to find the product of this equation. So let's go ahead. What's the opposite of positive 4? Negative 4. What's the opposite of negative 3? Positive 3. And those are my two answers. Okay. Now, what if you have a problem that's not in factored form yet? So this means you have to factor it. You need to factor your trinomial. So let's start here. We have x squared minus 6x plus 8 equals 0. So I need factors of 8. So let's list our factors of 8. We would get 1 and 8, 2 and 4. Which of these two pairs would give me a negative 6? Well, obviously, that would be 2 and 4. If I added them. So I need to add these two together, but I need to get a negative 6. So that tells me that they're both going to be negative. Because if this is negative and this is negative, they have the same sign, so we add. So I'm going to get x minus 2 and x minus 4 set equal to 0. Now, doesn't this look like the problems you just finished doing? What's the opposite of negative 2? 2. What's the opposite of negative 4? 4. And those are your two answers. Okay, let's try one more. All right, if you have x squared plus 4x equals 21. Now, this is not in standard form. We need to move this 21 over here. So it's next to the 4x, creating that standard form. So we take its opposite. So we're going to get x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. All right, now let's factor this down. We have the factors of 21. So we have 1 and 21 and 7 and 3. All right, well, I know a 7 and 3 would give me a 4 if I subtracted them. But I need my 4 to be positive, which means I'm going to give my negative to the 3. All right, so let's break this into 2 factored pairs. And I'm going to get x plus 7, x minus 3 equals 0. Now, this looks just like the problems we just finished doing. The opposite of positive 7, negative 7. The opposite of negative 3, positive 3. And that is my solution set for that problem. Okay. Let's try this. We have x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 0. So we're going to write the factors of 36. All right, so I have 1 and 36. I have 12 and 3. I have 2 and 18. And I have 6 and 6. All right, any of those pairs give me a 12. All right, well, I know 6 and 6 would give me a 12 if I added them together, but I need them to both be negative, so I get a negative 12. So let's break this up, and remember our little trick that the plus sign tells you if you're gonna have the same sign. That sign tells you what the signs will be. So since they're going to be the same, they're both going to be negative. So I'm going to get x minus 6, x minus 6. All right, let's take the opposites. So this gives me positive 6 and positive 6. Since they're the same answer, it just means there's one solution. So you just have to write it one time. You just write 6. Okay? Let's practice moving things into standard form again. So we have 2x squared equals 20x plus 50. Again, I like to go ahead and just move everything together. So I'm going to move this 2x squared over here. It's the only time I'm actually going to move my a. And that's just because I'm only solving by factoring. I'm not going to graph these. So I get 0 equals 2x squared plus 20x plus 50. All right, now before I break this down and write all my factors of 50, I see that I have a number I can pull out of here. I have a GCF. My GCF is 2. If I pull a 2 out, I'm left with x squared plus 10x plus 25. All right, now I want the factors of 25. Well, my factors of 25 are 1 and 25 and 5 times 5. Well, I'm going to look to see if any of those pairs give me a 10. Well, 5 and 5 would give me a 10 if I added them together. So bring down the 2 and now break into your 2 pairs. So I'm going to have x plus 5, x plus 5. Okay, again, we need to write our answers here for our solution set. So let's start with the 2. Does 2 equal 0? No, 2 does not equal 0. So this is not going to work. So the 2 just kind of dies off. Let's take one of these solution sets. We have x plus 5 equals 0. So again, what's the opposite of positive 5 is negative 5. So for this particular problem, you only get one solution answer. All right, well, I hope this helps.